Okay, I'm going to use Pete the Cat and his 4 groovy buttons, and the strategy I'm going to use this time is retelling the story. So, go through this book really quick. Pete the Cat put on his favorite shirt with 4 big, colorful, round, groovy buttons. He loved his buttons so much he sang this song. My 4 groovy buttons. My buttons, my 4 groovy buttons. Pop. Oh no. One of the buttons popped off and rolled away. How many buttons are left? 3. 4 minus 1 equals 3. Did Pete cry? Goodness no. Buttons come and buttons go. He kept on singing his song. My 3 groovy buttons. My 3 groovy buttons. Pop. Oh no. Another button popped off and rolled away. How many buttons are left? 2. 3 minus 1 equals 2. Did Pete cry? Goodness no. Buttons come and buttons go. He kept on singing his song. My 2 groovy buttons. My 2 groovy buttons. Pop. Oh no. Another button popped off and rolled away. How many buttons are left? 1. 2 minus 1 equals 1. Did Pete cry? Goodness no. Buttons come and buttons go. He kept on singing his song. My 1 groovy button. My 1 groovy button. Pop. Oh no. The last button popped off and rolled away. How many buttons are left? 0. 1 minus 1 equals 0. Did Pete cry? Goodness no. Buttons come and buttons go. Pete looked down at his buttonless shirt, and what do you think he saw? His belly button, and he kept on singing his song. My button, still have my belly button. My button, still have my belly button. I guess it simply goes to show that stuff will come and stuff will go. But do we cry? Goodness no. We keep on singing. Buttons come and buttons go. So kids, let's think about this story, and let's think about who was the main character in this story. Pete, that's right. A cat, that's right. Okay, and what problem did Pete the cat encounter? His buttons kept falling off. Yep, he kept losing buttons, so he would only have 1 less. Right. How did he solve his problem? Okay, he kept on singing his song and trying to stay positive. Okay, and how did the story end? He stayed positive the whole time, and he just kept on singing his song and realized that even though things happened, he still had his belly button and all that. That's good. So then if we want to think about this whole entire story, what happened first? One of his buttons popped off, so he had 3. Okay. What happened next? Another one popped off, so he had 2. And then another one popped off, so he had 1. Right. And then what happened last? All the buttons fell off, and all he had was his belly button. That's right. So when you're reading a story, always remember to try and think about who the main characters are, what happened, what was the problem, how was it solved, and then think about what happened first, next, and last. That story is called Retelling the Story, and it kind of helps us, if we're reading a really long book, it helps us to remember what happens throughout the whole entire thing, because maybe if we were reading a big chapter book or something, we wouldn't be able to read it all in one day. So we would have to think about these things to help us remember the whole entire story. Great job, guys. Good job.